Toyota loves to show off its iForce Max hybrid powertrain in the full-size Tundra, but realistically, a lot of people are going to be sticking with this non-hybrid 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6 engine. So we're finally getting the chance to see what sort of fuel economy this big truck gets when cruising on the highway. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and tonight we've got the real-world highway fuel economy test on the 2025 Toyota Tundra. In this test, I'm going to head out on the highway and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour, to get a realistic fuel economy number for this full-size truck. But before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. I've been trying to get into a more pedestrian spec Tundra for a while now, and the time is finally right with this new offering from Toyota, the TRD Rally. Essentially, it takes the interior fittings of an SR5, gives you the suspension and tire and skid plate coverings of a TRD off-road package, gives you some fun stickers and decals, but also from the TRD Pro gives you the exhaust and the shifter and steering wheel. So it's kind of a fun combination of parts and abilities for the Tundra, but most importantly gives us the opportunity to test this motor for highway fuel economy. But if you do want to see more on the TRD Rally, check the link below. I should be taking it out to some trails with some dirt bikes in the back. We've got a test of the 9-speaker sound system as well. So if you want to see any of that, check the link below. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gives this truck 22 miles per gallon, that test only averages 48 miles per hour. We know there are plenty of people who use their trucks for a lot of highway driving and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect here in the real world. So in order to test that out, we're going to head out on the highway tonight when there's less traffic. I'm going to fill up the truck, go out, do the 100 miles, and come back and fill up at the same pump using the same 3-click fueling method and get a result. Now, a few things to note for tonight. Outside temperature will be about 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Our tire pressures are going to be set to their door placard, 35 psi cold. And I'm going to run the climate control in here at 73 degrees auto. Now, another reason it's interesting to test these sort of trucks on our highway fuel economy test steady state at 70 miles per hour is because that EPA test does a lot of slowing down and speeding up and only averages 48. There's a little bit more advantage to the smaller engines with turbochargers, but just cruising steady state at 70, it's possible that we'll see less advantage for an engine like this as opposed to just something like the naturally aspirated V8 offerings. So it'll be cool to check it out. So let's head to the pump. We are all fueled up, put in about 7 gallons to start this test. We've got our trip computer reset, fuel economy there. We've got our GPS reset, climate control 73 auto, and we're ready to begin. Now we do have 3 different drive modes here in the Tundra. We've got Sport, Normal, and Eco. We'll be doing this test in Eco. Some people debate back and forth on whether these tests should be done in Normal or Eco. To me, if you're concerned about fuel economy and you're going to go out and cruise on the highway, why wouldn't you just flip it down into Eco, and squeeze a little bit more out? But either way, that's what we do it in. We're going to take it nice and easy over to the highway. It's about half a mile away, and pick up the test from there. Quick side note, those Bilsteins really taking those speed bumps well. Now the goal of this test isn't to hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy for this truck, but rather a realistic figure. So in order to do that, we're getting up to highway speeds here at a reasonable pace, and I'm going to set the cruise control to a GPS indicated 71 miles per hour. That should allow us to average about 70 over the whole test. Quick shout out to the Accord with the Type R badging on it. That's fun. Norsk C. Not quite sure what that means. The screen on our GPS is pretty dim right now, but it looks like the car speedometer is about 1 to 1.5 miles per hour high. So we're going to have to settle in about 72 miles per hour in order to average 71. Something kind of annoying that this truck does is every time you turn the cruise control on and set it, it resets your following distance to the furthest distance. And not only that, but the cruise control turns off every time you restart the car, which that's fine for me. It's not a big deal. But then it means that you got to re-extend it back up to its closest, or rather shorten it to its closest following distance, or whatever you want it to be. I mean, maybe you do want the maximum following distance. That's just a little example of Toyota always having this more conservative mindset on safety and how a vehicle should act. It's always a little bit more careful about things. But initial highway impressions are good. I am hearing those tires a little bit, but this is a concrete section of highway, so really not too bad. Although, compared to something like the F-150 Raptor, I'm pretty sure that was quieter at highway speed than this Tundra, both from an exhaust standpoint. Maybe exhaust was comparable, but you could even hear those tires on that F-150 Raptor. It was really impressive. No sort of active lane centering. We do have a lane keeping that you can see here. If you drift over to the edge, it will turn the steering wheel ever so slightly and bring you back in, but it's not going to keep you lane centered. That's probably something saved for the more expensive Tundras. We do have two-way lumbar adjustment, so we'll see how comfortable I am over the test. I'm going to continue on with the test, catch up with you at the end, but in the meantime, enjoy this time lapse of the entire trip.
Cruising down the highway, numbers on my mind. TRD rally roaring, leave the all behind. Gauge the distance, gallon after mile. Pushing for precision, doing it in style. Roll on, Tundra keeps on rolling strong. Pedal to the meadow, watch the numbers climb. Nothing left to chance, keeping close in line. A brand new challenge, every feel I see. Counting every drop, the road keeps testing me. Headlights cut the morning, data in my head. Black Hole meets adventure on this open red.
Coming into the end of the highway fuel economy test here in the Tundra TRD Rally. Already viewing a Mazda without their lights on, tailgating a Lexus. But this is a nice place to be here on the highway. Still decently comfortable, ergonomics are good. I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of this steering wheel material. Maybe that sounds a little petty. There's just something about the kind of golf ball-y, rounded out bits. And it feels like it's sort of a synthetic leather. It's just not my favorite steering wheel to hold on to. Something you think of after cruising for an hour and a half. But I suppose if that's something that comes to mind, then really there's not too much to worry about here in the Tundra. I did have a few situations where I was changing lanes, like it's kind of a situation like this, and the adaptive cruise control, I think, looked and saw the car that was 2 cars over maybe, and slowed down, not super aggressively, but fairly aggressively, even though the lane I was merging into was clear. So that was a little bit disappointing. All things considered, though, fine place to be. Taking a look at the tack shot, cruising 71 miles per hour, 71, 72, I guess 71 GPS. We're looking at about 1,700 RPM, so definitely low there. Having all those gears helps, and having the torquey turbocharged engine, cruise at low revs. According to the vehicle's readout, 21.3 MPG. A little bit below EPA there. I mean, maybe that'll get up to 21.4, so, oh my gosh, people, just get over. Why is everyone chilling over in the left 2 lanes? So frustrating to me. Anyway, not that bad of a figure, all things considered, for the all-terrain tires, even though they're highway all-terrains nonetheless, and full-size truck. Yeah. We'll have to bring up some of our numbers from other recent full-size trucks and compare. Unfortunately, we haven't run the Hurricane Inline 6. We had the Rebel X a few months ago, and I just didn't feel like that was a worthwhile truck to test. We're also very busy, having just had our baby, so didn't exactly get a chance to run the fuel economy test on that one. But we'll try to get a Ram at some point with the Inline 6 and see what sort of fuel economy it gets with more normal tires. And then we're actually getting an F-150 with the V8 later this summer. I'm looking forward to testing that, because we've done the 3.5 EcoBoost We'll have to compare that to this once we get back and crunch the numbers. So I'm going to get back to the pump, top it off, and catch up with you in the daylight to get our final pump calculated figure. Back the next day and all fueled up. We ended up putting in a total of 4.662 gallons into the Tundra. If we bring up our calculator, we do 100.3 miles traveled divided by that 4.662. Okay, so just actually pretty spot on with the vehicle's trip readout, but it's going to get just the slightest bump up to 22 miles per gallon, which is coming in right at its EPA figure. Okay, so for a full-size truck, some highway all-terrain tires, really not that bad of a figure. Now, from our pump calculations, that's remarkably close, but given the rounding, it is technically 1 mile per gallon better than what we saw with the F-150 when we tested the 3.5 EcoBoost last year. And I think it's within a margin of error of being just about the same, so I wouldn't consider this one to be any significantly more efficient or less efficient than the F-150, although that was not any sort of off-road trim, so theoretically speaking, this with the same tires might do just that much better than the F-150. But it is pretty significantly better than the 18 MPG that we got with the TRD Pro. So again, if you're somebody who isn't really going to be using the full TRD Pro abilities and those tires and the lift and everything, definitely recommend getting something a little bit more modest like this SR5 with the TRD Rally Package. Now the Rally Package gets the 32.2 gallon fuel tank, so you got 32.2 gallons times that 21, we're gonna go 21.6 just to be a little bit more accurate. Gives you an impressive highway cruising range of just a hair under 700 miles, 690 miles. Now that doesn't really seem accurate to me because the car's only been telling me mid 350s, and the fuel gauge seems to go down very quickly. But is that, I mean, if that is truly to be believed, that's a pretty healthy range figure. Now, what if it's got the 22.2 gallon tank times 21.6? That seems a little bit more believable. I don't know, maybe this distance to empty is just very heavily calibrated on how hard this truck's been used and how much it's been idled and everything. But let me see, does this tell us in here? I don't even think it says on the window sticker. Exterior, full tank of gas. Yeah, so theoretically you could get quite a lot of range out of your TRD Rally Package, but yeah, interesting. So thank you all so much for watching. Let me know if you find that to be an acceptable number here. I think I do, given the capabilities of this truck. If you do want to see more on it, check the link below. I'm taking it out to do some off-roading and some dirt biking here today. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.